Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. And today we're going to be talking about the legacy of the king of pop, Michael Jackson, and how his influence is still impacting the music world today. And of course, I have my expert here with me. We've actually got some fan questions to answer today. We're going to be really diving into Michael Jackson's impact on music, dance, pop culture. And I actually have a little fun fact. Did you guys know that even as a child, Michael had a very demanding performance schedule? He had to be ready to perform every day by 4:30 p.m. Talk about dedication, right?
It's incredible how that early dedication really did shape his career.
It's really unbelievable. So let's jump right into it. Our first question that we got from a lot of fans is, who are some current artists that really carry on MJ's legacy? We saw a lot of suggestions like The Weeknd, Bruno Mars, Usher, artists who are really well known for their vocals, their stage presence, and their dance routines. What do you think? Do you think those artists are carrying the torch?
Yeah, it's tempting to draw those lines directly and say, oh, here's the Michael Jackson influence. And I mean, yeah, those artists you mentioned, they definitely have some surface level similarities with Michael's style. But I think the real impact, the real legacy, goes a little deeper than that. It's more like evolution than imitation. These artists aren't just copying Michael, they're absorbing his artistry, transforming it, and creating something new for their generation.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not really about straight up imitation, but more how they internalized some of Michael's core artistry.
And made it their own.
Exactly. And remember, Michael was really obsessed with those robotic movements and how he put chrome and metallics into his outfits, almost like a futuristic android-like persona. You can actually see kind of echoes of that today in contemporary artists who are experimenting with technology and creating those really visually stunning futuristic performances, for sure. Actually, there was one description from our sources about Michael's chrome outfit on the Bad Tour. And apparently, under the stage lights, he looked like a robot, sculpted from chrome and silver. Can you even imagine how cool that must have been? I'm trying to picture an artist today who would draw inspiration from that specific visual.
Yeah, it wasn't just about the spectacle. It was really pushing the creative boundaries. Think about the Thriller video. That wasn't just a music video. It was like a mini movie. It was like a whole visual experience, which was a game changer.
I actually read that Michael's lawyer, John Branca, had to convince MTV to partially finance the Thriller video. Can you imagine having that conversation? Back then, MTV, they didn't even pay for music videos.
That's right. It was a huge risk. But it obviously paid off. I mean, Thriller set a precedent for the industry. And now we see so many artists creating these really elaborate cinematic videos that blur the line between music and film. That's a direct line from Michael's vision.
Yeah, it's incredible. And that's actually a great transition to some other fan questions that we got. A lot of you were curious about Michael's personal life and how that may influence artists today.
Yeah, that's a great question. The sources we have highlight how much Michael was impacted by the relationship between his parents. He saw firsthand, the conflict that can exist in a family.
And that really shaped him.
Oh, for sure. It fueled his desire to create this haven of love and safety, which, eventually led him to build Neverland Ranch. Of course, not every artist has the resources to build a Neverland, but the point is that Michael's desire to create positive change, to spread a message of love and unity, it really resonates with a lot of artists today.
Right. I mean, so many artists are using their platforms to advocate for social causes and speak out against injustice, really trying to make the world a better place. They may not be building, elaborate theme parks, but they are carrying on that spirit of making a difference, which was so central to Michael's message.
Exactly. Speaking of dedication, though, did you read about how Michael prepared for the 1981 Triumph Tour?
Oh, you mean how obsessed he was with perfecting the dance routine for Don't Stop Till You Get Enough?
Yes. He practiced that spin really meticulously in his kitchen.
And even after all that practice, he was still disappointed because he didn't hold the final pose on his toes long enough during the performance. Can you imagine that level of dedication?
It shows the immense pressure that artists feel to deliver those flawless performances, especially with social media today.
That's a good point. The technology that allows us to have perfectly polished recordings also sets a really high bar for live shows. Fans expect perfection.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword for sure. But let's move on to another aspect of Michael's legacy that a lot of people were curious about, his impact on the business side of the industry.
Oh, yeah. This is where it gets really interesting. I mean, everyone knows Michael was incredibly talented, but he was also a savvy businessman.
Absolutely. Like the story about how he acquired the ATV music publishing catalog, which included like tons of Beatles songs. That's legendary.
Yeah. And it all started with a conversation with Paul McCartney. They were just hanging out back in the early 80s. And Paul just casually mentioned how lucrative owning publishing rights could be.
Right. And that sparked something in Michael. He understood the value of owning the songs themselves, not just performing them, which was a totally revolutionary approach at the time.
I bet that ruffled some feathers.
It definitely challenged how things were done, but it empowered artists. And today we see so many artists following in Michael's footsteps. And they're recognizing the importance of owning their masters and controlling their creative output.
Yeah, it's a shift from artists being just performers to becoming entrepreneurs and business moguls, and that's a huge part of Michael's legacy.
For sure. Now, it's important to acknowledge the controversies that surrounded Michael, especially the allegations against him. And many people were asking about the impact of those controversies on his legacy.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough subject. I mean, those are serious allegations, and we need to acknowledge the pain and trauma experienced by anyone involved. And, we're not going to get into the specifics of the legal cases, but we can look at how those controversies, regardless of the outcome, how they impacted public perception of Michael.
Yeah, it definitely had a polarizing effect. Some people remained totally supportive of Michael, while others felt conflicted, struggling to reconcile the allegations with their love of his music. It's important to remember that those conversations are still ongoing today.
Absolutely. It really raises questions that go beyond just Michael himself. Questions about how we separate the art from the artist, how we deal with complex and uncomfortable truths, and how we hold public figures accountable.
Those are important questions, and there are no easy answers. But it's essential that we have those conversations, even when they're difficult.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. We got a ton of questions about Michael's fashion.
Yeah, the iconic looks. The military jackets, the single glove.
And that red leather jacket from Thriller. It practically defined a whole era. So many people wanted to know if those fashion choices are still influencing artists today.
It's interesting, because for Michael, fashion wasn't just about looking cool. It was a way to express his creativity, his personality, even his message.
Oh, yeah. It was a form of storytelling. And we actually see that same intentionality in artists today. Like, they're using fashion to make statements, to challenge norms, and connect with their fans in a visual way.
Like, think about Lady Gaga. She uses those crazy costumes to get people thinking and push those boundaries. Or Beyoncé, who incorporates Afrofuturism into her outfits.
And Billie Eilish. And her baggy clothes, which she uses to subvert expectations and reclaim her image.
Exactly. They're building on that foundation that Michael laid, using fashion as a really powerful tool for self-expression and artistic statement.
And just like with the music and videos, it's not really about copying Michael's style. It's about taking inspiration and creating something fresh and new and relevant to their own time.
Yeah, it's about continuing the evolution of that creative energy.
So Michael's influence is really multifaceted and far-reaching. It's in the music, the videos, the clothes, even in the conversations that we have about art and accountability and social change.
His legacy really continues to spark debate and inspire innovation and challenge us to think differently about the world.
And that's what makes him such an enduring figure, even decades after his passing. And now we're going to take a quick break, but stick around. We'll be right back with more on Michael Jackson's incredible legacy. It's amazing how Michael's influence is really everywhere you look.
Right. Absolutely. And it's not just on, the music and the performance, but his personal life also had an impact. Like, his difficult relationship with his parents really shaped him.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like those early experiences, with his parents, you can really see how they influenced him.
Yeah, he saw all that, the conflict, and that really shaped his desire to create a place of love and safety, which, eventually led him to create Neverland.
Right. And that's something I think a lot of artists can relate to. Maybe not to the extent of building a Neverland, but that desire to use their platform for good.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just about the music. It's about making a difference.
And speaking of dedication, I was reading about how Michael prepared for his Triumph tour.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, his obsession with the dance routine for Don't Stop Till You Get Enough.
He was so dedicated.
It's amazing. Like, he practiced that spin over and over again in his kitchen.
Wow.
But get this. Even after all that practice, he was still disappointed because he didn't hold the final pose on his toes long enough. That's unbelievable.
It really shows you the pressure these artists are under to be perfect.
Oh, yeah, especially with social media today. The bar's so high.
Totally. But another interesting aspect of Michael's legacy is his business side, like how he acquired all those Beatles songs.
Oh, yeah, the ATV music catalog. That was a smart move.
Totally. He understood the value of owning the songs, not just singing them.
Yeah, and it all started with a conversation with Paul McCartney. They were just hanging out.
And Paul mentioned the publishing rights.
And that's when Michael realized the potential.
It was a game changer.
For sure. And I bet it shook things up in the industry.
Oh, it definitely challenged the status quo, but it also empowered artists.
And today, so many artists are following his lead, owning their masters, controlling their own work.
Absolutely. Now, of course, we have to address the controversies around Michael, the allegations against him, and how those affected his legacy.
Right. It's a tough subject, and it's important to acknowledge the seriousness of those allegations.
Oh, sure.
We're not going to go into the details here, but it's important to consider the impact of those controversies.
They definitely had a polarizing effect. Some fans remained loyal, others felt conflicted.
Yeah, it's a complex situation, and it raises questions about how we view art and artists.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. We got a lot of questions about Michael's fashion.
Yes, the iconic style.
The single glove, the military jackets.
And of course, that red leather jacket from Thriller.
It's so recognizable. Do you think his fashion choices are still influencing artists today?
For Michael, fashion wasn't just about clothes. It was about self-expression and sending a message.
Yeah, it was like a form of storytelling.
And we see that today with artists like Lady Gaga and Beyoncé.
Right, they use fashion to make statements.
Exactly.
And Billie Eilish, too, with her unique style.
They're all taking inspiration from Michael.
And creating something new.
It's about continuing that creative evolution.
So Michael's influence is really everywhere. The music, the videos, the fashion, even the conversations we have about art and social responsibility.
It's a legacy that continues to inspire and challenge us.
Wow. It's really incredible to see just how big Michael's impact was.
He really was a cultural phenomenon.
He more than earned that title, King of Pop.
He broke so many barriers in the music industry, blended genres, really changed what it meant to be a global superstar.
And what's always so impressive to me is his dedication to his craft.
Oh, yeah. Like everything was so carefully planned and executed, from the music to the choreography to the costumes and the stage design.
He was a true perfectionist.
Absolutely. Never settling for anything less than extraordinary.
Like that story about the recording of Billie Jean. I mean, apparently Michael was so determined to get the bass line perfect that he and the bassist Louis Johnson would spend hours in the parking lot, using Johnson's car stereo as a makeshift sound system.
That's amazing. He was relentless in his pursuit of perfection.
And he wasn't afraid to experiment and push boundaries.
Exactly. And we see that same fearlessness in a lot of artists today.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They're blending genres, creating music that defies categories.
They're carrying on that spirit of innovation.
And that's what keeps Michael's legacy alive.
It's not about copying him. It's about pushing the boundaries of your own artistry.
It's about finding your own voice.
But it all goes back to that foundation that Michael laid.
The power of music and performance to connect with people.
On a human level?
So as you're listening to your favorite artist today, think about how Michael might have influenced them.
It could be a subtle thing, a dance move, a vocal technique.
Maybe even a certain energy.
It could be something deeper.
A passion for pushing creative limits.
A dedication to their craft.
The desire to use their platform to make a difference.
Michael's legacy continues to evolve and inspire.
It's really beautiful.
So keep exploring, keep asking questions.
And most importantly, keep the music alive.
That's the best way to honor the King of Pop.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Michael Jackson's incredible legacy. Until next time.
Boyfriend.